Welcome to The Woman's Hustle, Thrills and Spills of Entrepreneurship. This show is going to take you on a journey into the dynamic world of female entrepreneurship. In this show, we're going to celebrate victories, navigate the challenges, and embrace the roller coaster ride of building a business. We're going to dive into the stories of women who have dared to strike out on their own as they share their experiences, insights, and lessons learned. So, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned business owner, join us as we explore the hustle, the thrills, and yes, the spills of entrepreneurship. Let's get it. Welcome back to The Woman's Hustle, Thrills and Spills of Entrepreneurship. It is your girl, Coach K. Woods, and I'm back with another amazing session talking all about entrepreneurship, the thrills and the spills. I do have a special guest with me today, so I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. Hello.
Hi, how are you this morning?
I am good. How are you? Please let the listeners know who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Aelsa Woods. I run a couple of small businesses, entrepreneurial hustles. So I got laid off from my full-time job in marketing back over the holidays. And I decided to take what has been a side hustle since I was a sophomore in college and turn it into a full-time real deal.
Ooh,
so over the last 4 months, I've been, just building the business side of what's been a money-making venture for me, but, turning it into something that's legit and,
Absolutely. Well, shout out to you for actually taking that leap. As a person that actually was let go from her job back in 2020, I had that same mindset. It's like, okay, do I just go find another job or do I step into the purpose that apparently was being handed to me, So I definitely stepped into that purpose. It's been an up and down experience, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So welcome to full-time entrepreneurship. And just kind of tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do.
So my primary efforts, job, business is Aelsa on Socials, which is a social media marketing agency startup. So
nice.
I do social media marketing for, in particular, small businesses and nonprofits in the Central Illinois community. So everything from coming up with a social media strategy to content creation, scheduling, posting, community engagement, reporting, and just helping out kind of behind the scenes when small businesses and nonprofits are trying to develop a digital marketing strategy.
I love that.
Primarily what I do.
I love it because really that is so needed out here, right? Small businesses just don't understand like the importance of having a team. I get it, like in the beginning, sometimes we don't have the money to invest, and do things like that, right? And I totally understand that. I've walked that journey, but walking that journey, I have learned that I needed to get a team sooner than I actually did. You know what I'm saying? So I love that you are actually implementing that. We kind of share similar stories and similar, approaches when it comes to that. So I absolutely love that. Tell us a little bit more about like the backstory behind you. Like, I know that you were in, full-time corporate America, doing marketing. Like, is it as far as the marketing side of things? Tell us a little bit more about your backstory.
Yeah. So I say that I'm a lifelong entrepreneur in a way where I, from the time I was a very young child, was just trying to monetize my hobbies. My parents didn't give us allowance. So in order to pay for the things that I wanted, that's how we needed to do it. But that made it complicated when it came to choosing like what I was going to do for a job, because I felt like I had so many things I wanted to do and I didn't really know what the common thread was. So I started my college career as a music major, wanting to do marketing for orchestras. And then I eventually ended up just in marketing, working for an agency based out of Atlanta. I worked remote. I got the job right before having my daughter. So I worked there for almost 2 years, working from home, trying to fulfill the expectations of putting in the same amount of work during the same hours as other people who didn't have some of those limitations. And just constantly dealing with those frustrations, trying to live up to those expectations. And when they let me go, it actually felt a little bit like a relief, because it was like, now I don't have to try to fit my daughter's schedule or my family's schedule, my family model into the idea of a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what inspired me to kind of go back to those entrepreneurial roots and it turned that into something that can support me and my family.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Tell us a little bit more about the other side hustles that you have, the entrepreneurial hustles that you have, because you are definitely multifaceted when it comes to that. So tell us a little bit more about them.
Yeah, well, my first ones were like making little crafts that I would sell to my neighbor kids. But in terms of like what I've done as a young person and, young adult,
Yeah.
I started in the wedding industry as a wedding musician because I was a music major. So I played violin and piano. People would pay me to do that for weddings. And then my dad has always worked in the communications fields with audiovisual stuff. So I've kind of always had a camera in my hands. So I transitioned to being a wedding photographer, and I did a couple of weddings, and I decided I actually don't like this. And so then I went to wedding coordination, which is another, like, I still do that.
Right.
So I've built websites for people, just like if it's something I can do and you're willing to pay me to do it, like I'll figure it out if I don't
Come
already
on,
know.
entrepreneur. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that's what people don't get, right? When the purpose is there, you are open-minded to like do whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. Like, girl, you got me hype over here because there's a lot of us out here that don't have that passion and that purpose when it comes to entrepreneurship. Everybody's like, oh, I want a business, but people don't understand like the really work that is going into, but like, you work full-time in corporate America, right? Someone that works full-time in corporate America, that organization wants you to bust your ass, right? You don't realize you got to do that times two when it comes to your own businesses. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's amazing. Like he said, hey, I was doing crafts when I was a kid. I love that. That's that mindset, baby. That is so dope. Talk a little bit more about the balance, because you have a beautiful baby girl. Like, tell us a little bit more, about the balances that, comes along with that and how you feel that sense of freedom just with the kids and stuff.
Yes. I will say I'm still trying to find that balance. And when I talk to other mompreneurs,
Yeah.
I think we're all trying to find that balance. It's not something that ever really goes away. But I think that just trying to find ways that, my husband's gone, he works a blue collar job. So he's gone a lot during the day. He leaves at like 4, comes back at 5.
Yeah.
And so I'm alone with my daughter that whole time, but that doesn't mean that I can work during that whole time.
Right. That part.
And so it kind of becomes, well, I guess I'll work 5 to 9, or more realistically, really, it's like I start working at 8 and I go to bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning. That's when I can get to do my work. So it's just kind of just trying to being willing to be flexible every day, being willing, like, okay, I have to adjust my expectations that I am not going to get an 8-hour day worth of work done during an 8-hour day. That's just not, how it's going to work.
Yeah.
I think adjusting expectations is a big part.
I agree with that. I think that sometimes we want, because I had that whole mindset, right? It was like, oh, I want to work between these hours and these hours. But as I grew, it was like, girl, your mind is the most active at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Like when I wake up in the morning, there's so many things racing through my mind. Literally, our minds are the most active, like when we first wake up in the morning. Like people are like, oh, I have so many things on my mind when I first wake up. Exactly. So what I do now is I utilize that. So I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, typing up stuff on my laptop or even on my phone, writing things down. I'm doing all of that. By 7:30, 8 o'clock, my mind is kind of like shifting off to other things. So it's like, okay, maybe this might be my wind down time, but it is important to find what works for you, and I think we get caught up in seeing what other people are doing. We get on social media, we see the other entrepreneurs that are living their best life, quote unquote. I had to learn the hard way that a lot of that shit is cap. It is, and especially, in marketing, you got to make it look good. You know what I'm saying? So once I really came to that understanding, it was like, okay, I still have to remain true to me and authentic to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you ever come across that moment where you're like, oh my God, I see people doing it like this, so maybe let me try and see how this works, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it comes up a lot because one of the biggest like recommendations for work from home and entrepreneurial people in general is like block scheduling, where you have certain hours of your day that you do certain things, and then once that time is up, you got to move on to something else. And that just does not work for me and my family. And so
Yeah,
if I held myself to that expectation or that standard that other entrepreneurs have found work for them, then I would be shooting myself in the foot. um so yeah, absolutely, you have to do what works well for you.
absolutely.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
I agree with that. You know, we could get caught up, you know, and I had to really like look and do the research. Like when I'm doing marketing research for a client or stuff like that, I have to really like explain to them, you know, because everybody just wants to throw stuff out there. And we see social media is changing, you know, like as far as the algorithms and stuff like that. Even Facebook, for example, like now, if you're in professional mode on social media, you're not seeing anything that's from your friends or anything like that. Now you're seeing all of this crazy stuff from like other podcast channels, other gossip sites. You know, you have to still continue to tame your algorithms, you know, and a lot of times you have entrepreneurs out here that are just throwing things out there. You know, as a social media, you know, marketing expert, like do you see like where people are just throwing stuff out there and just hoping they grab a catch, you know, is those are conversations that you have with your clients?
In a way, yeah. So because I do social media strategy, I do
Mhm.
talk about this a lot, that it matters less how often you post, it matters more what you're posting.
Come on.
If you're just sharing, there's these like AI generated Jesus sandcastles that I've been seeing people just sharing, and I was like, that was made using Dolly, that is not a real thing, and also that has nothing to do with your business. Why are you sharing that?
That part.
But so yes, we do talk about that a lot. But I am finding that with increased education resources, like especially on Instagram, there's so many coaches who are talking about it. Even people who are not social media people are able to pick it up and do well with it. So it's like both and. You don't have to hire a strategist to tell you this. You can hear it from from
Better
other
talk about
people.
it, you better tell them.
But
It's
yeah,
facts. It's
yeah.
facts. And I think too, like, what I have encountered is I'll have people posting a lot of personal stuff, right?
Hmm.
I have multiple pages, as far as for me, myself personally, but I've literally turned all my pages into business pages because personal wise, I'll talk to you off of social media, right? That's just the journey that I'm on with this. So like all of my pages are professional based and based on my business. But what I see is I'll see people posting 10 posts that are personal or non-related to their business at all, but then you've got one post that's talking about their business. And it's to the point now for me, if I have to scroll your page longer than 30 seconds to see anything about your business, that's something that I don't really think people are serious about. And they want to swear up and down that they're serious about their business. But those little tidbits are things that people have to pay attention to. I need to be able to go to your page and see that you have a business and what your products or services are within 5 seconds of even viewing your page. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times people are like, oh, this is my page, I can post. You're right. But nobody's going to take you serious as a business, as an entrepreneur, if you've got a bunch of drama stuff, if you're sharing comedy and stuff like that, if it's not related to your business. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times people just want to be hard headed when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think I agree. And it definitely depends. Like if you want to post more personal stuff, that's fine. But like you said, you have to be able to identify what what that person does professionally on their professional pages. So on Instagram, for example, if you're posting a lot of personal stuff, fine. But make sure your highlights at the top of your page have
Yeah.
information in them about your professional resources. Make sure that it's in your bio so that when people come to your page, they don't think they've just happened upon Aunt Lucy's random Instagram page, but that it is something
Right.
that they can follow and turn to for that professional guidance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And even when it comes to the followers, right? I learned that, you know, they have this whole follow train and stuff like that. And it's cool, but it's not really benefiting me. I know that people are like likes for likes, follows for follows, but I really want people to engage with my content because they get value out of my content. I don't want people, I don't need 10,000 followers, because if 10,000 followers and I have no clients out of that 10,000 followers, hey, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice. And I don't think people understand that. I think people feel like if you have the followers, they're going to automatically engage. But what I have taught my clients is they are not going to engage because they're not interested. And now you're going to start seeing that stuff that you're not interested in. So it's kind of like a two-way thing. You have to follow what you like, just like you want people to follow what it is that you're offering because they like it. You know, do you have to tell that to your clients? Do they understand that part, or do they think that we're just trying to be haters?
I think when I explain it, they definitely understand it. It's so tempting to have to idolize celebrity of like, I want 100 people, 100,000 people following my page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but if you are, I've used this example, it's one of my favorites. If you are a lawn care maintenance company in the middle of Illinois, central Illinois, do you need followers in Boston?
Come on.
No. And your followers in Boston aren't going to be interacting with your content because they don't really care.
At all.
At worst, they will unfollow you. And at maybe even worse than that, actually, they will stay following you and then never interact with your posts, which will keep your engagement low. Yeah. And then your algorithm will suffer. You will, stop showing up in people's timelines and their For You page and stuff like that. So yeah. Absolutely. It's better to have a more engaged audience than a bigger audience. Yeah.
I said that. I say that all the time. And people are like, oh, I want the follows. Oh, okay. Well, if you want to give me backlash for that, then, I might not be the best person for you. You know what I'm saying? So I've come to realize that everybody is not for everybody, and I'm okay with that, so I get it, and I love that, there are people out there that really are providing people the logic side of things when it comes to, because we're here to organically grow our businesses for the long term. Right. Everybody wants a short-term fix and wants to turn around and wants all of this, but what are you going to do after that? If there's no plan of action, what are you going to do if it presents yourself? Where's your lead magnets? How are you following up with the people that are engaging? Those are the things that people don't think about. That's crazy. So yeah, kind of tell us a little bit about your thrills. Like, give us a couple of thrills that you've experienced on your entrepreneur journey. And that's from young age to now, definitely share with us a couple of the thrills that you've had.
So I think the biggest thrill is probably the quietest, which is that I get to decide how I spend my time. Mm-hmm. So I have a toddler, and she's the only one at home right now, the only kid at home. And so a lot of times I know that she needs socialization. She needs to be out with other kids. But if I was stuck at my desk, then I would have to take sick time or take time off to be able to take her even just to doctor's appointments. And I don't have to do that anymore. And so even though that's very practical and low key, that is probably the biggest thrill of it for me in terms of effects. I love that. I can decide how I spend my time. In terms of things that I've done that have made me excited, the feeling of booking a new client on my own, based on my own, portfolio and results, that's a really good feeling of validation. Like, yes, I'm doing the right thing and my work doesn't stink. And my employers laid me off for no reason except to my benefit. Come on. It's that, I think, has been, those two things are my biggest.
I love it. Sure. I love that. That is so amazing. And you're right. It's their loss. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though we emotionally, we have to go through that, right? Like the questioning, asking ourselves why, because I was fired after 7 years, and it was like, why? I've been in customer service 22 years of my life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what was that? What was the reasoning? But there was a bigger purpose behind that. And just at that time, I did not know it, but I'm definitely know it now. So I tell my old employer, thank you. Because if it wasn't for you, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at today. You know what I'm saying? And I'm blessed, definitely blessed with that. So I love that for you. So about the spills, give us a few spills, some down things, when it comes to the entrepreneur journey, things like that, just a few spills that, we'd love to hear.
Yeah. I can't do it all. And I wasn't designed to do it all. So that's a good reminder for me. But in the business realm, we have an LLC, and we're now in the process of connecting. We've had that LLC for a while, of connecting my side hustle to that LLC. And
Okay.
all of the legal and tax things that come with that. I am pretty smart, but I have not been able to figure that out. I've been researching it and asking people questions, and it's like, you know what, we just need to hire an accountant. And then you're like, oh my goodness, everything costs money. And I'm trying to start up my own business and get people to pay me money, but I need that money because that's my livelihood right now. And so having to release and train myself to be like, it's okay, we have to set aside 10% of that or whatever to help address some of these other issues. So I think that's been lately my biggest spill or challenge, is just, finding the clients so that I have that money, and then being willing to be someone else's client so that my business is set up for success.
Oh, yes. Girl, I feel you on that so much. Like, it's hard because you feel like that, not that you know everything, but that you can handle everything. And I love that you kicked it off with that by saying, I can't handle everything. I can't do everything. So I think that that's amazing, because entrepreneurs, we need to hear that, y'all. We need to understand that even starting off, you can't do everything. So just to realize, like, break down things, write your list down. If money was not a factor to you guys, what would you need to have done? And then you can kind of like break things down from there. You know what I'm saying? But you've got to have a starting point, and eventually do have to understand that you are going to have to invest, in the growth of your legacy. So, and I think you got it. Like, you're very, well balanced, well rounded, and understanding that, you're going to have some ups and downs. That's a part of the process, so I see nothing but great things continuous to come your way. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
As we close out here, I would love for you to share with the listeners some life hacks or some tips, just to help someone who is on the entrepreneur journey that may be stuck, someone who's thinking about, turning their side hustles into full-time entrepreneurship as you, or someone that's just needing to excel on any level. We have our women audience, so, just kind of give the ladies some life hacks.
I love this question. I feel somewhat underqualified to answer because I feel like I'm learning so much. But I will say that if you have a desire to contribute something to the world, whether that is little handicrafts that you sell when you're 7 years old, or that's wedding photography when you're 21, that you decide in a couple years, actually, I didn't want to do that. But that fire of wanting to contribute to the world through something that you're doing with control over how you do it, don't let that die just because something isn't aligned yet. I had to work my way through college. I worked after college. I worked for somebody else. I had several really crappy jobs in a row. And all of that helped me develop the skills that I'm able to use as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So if you feel called to entrepreneurialism, you don't give up just because right now you need that full-time job. Use that full-time job or your time in college, whatever that is, use that time to prepare you and train you to develop the skills that you will need when you are able to make that ultimate step. So I'm really grateful for that time that I invested in myself and did the hard things and stuck out the hard jobs, because I think it has made me a better person and a better entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Let the listeners know where they can find you at on social media.
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn under Aelsa Woods. You can find me on Instagram at Aelsa on Socials. You can find me on Facebook at Aelsa on Socials as well. And my website is aelsawoods.com.
All right. And all of those details will be in the podcast notes, you guys. It has been a pleasure. I love this conversation so much. Thank you for bringing your value, your insight, and sharing your thrills and spills. It has been a great, great conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was so nice to chat.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Y'all know where y'all can find me at if you have not subscribed to the Woman's Hustle, Thrills, and Spills of Entrepreneurship, then this is your time to do so. This is your reminder. Follow me on all social media at Coach K Transforms. And until next time, y'all, make sure that you're doing what you do to make sure to elevate your business, baby. I'll talk to y'all later.